यस्यान्तन्नादिमध्यं न हि करचरणं नाम गोत्रं न सूत्रं नो जातिर्नैव वर्णा न भवति पुरुषो नानपुंसं न च स्त्रीं नाकारं नो विकारं न हि जनिमरणं नास्ति पुण्यं न पापं तत्त्वं नो तत्त्वमेकं सहजसमरसं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि। मौनव्याख्या प्रकटितपरब्रह्मतत्त्वं युवानं वरिशिष्ठान्ते वसदृशिगणैरावृतं ब्रह्मनिष्ठैः आचार्येन्द्रं करकलितचिन्मुद्रमानन्दमूर्तिं स्वात्मा रामं मुदितवदनं दक्षिणामूर्तिमीडे वेदान्तार्थविभासकाय यतये शान्ताय सन्न्यासिने नानावादिनगेन्द्रसङ्घपवये योगीन्द्रवन्द्याय च मोहध्वान्तदिवाकराय भगवत्पादाभिधां बिभ्रते तस्मै भाष्यकृते नमोऽस्तु सततं पूर्णाय बोधात्मने अपारसच्चित्सुखवादिराशेः यस्योर्मिमात्रं भुवनं समस्तं गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि। रागाचन्द्रसमानकान्तिवदनानाकाधिराजस्तुता मूकानामपि कुर्वती सुरधुनी नीकाशवाग्वैभवं श्रीकाञ्चीनगरी विहाररसिका शोकापहन्त्री सताम् एका पुण्यपरम्परा पशुपतेराकारिणी राजते योऽन्तः प्रविश्य मम वाचमिमां प्रसुप्तां सञ्जीवयत्यखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना अन्यांश्च हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान्नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यं। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे सद्गुरुं चन्द्रशेखरं। मातामहौ मातरं च पितरं च पितामहौ मातुलं च गुरूनन्यान् वन्देऽहं ज्ञानसिद्धये। पीताम्बरं करविराजितशङ्खचक्रकौबोदकीसरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायमतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालकेशमनिशं हृदि भावयामि। सान्द्रानन्दावबोधात्मकमनुपमितं कालदेशावधिभ्यां निर्मुक्तं नित्यमुक्तं निगमशतसहस्रेण निर्भास्यमानम् अस्पष्टं दृष्टमात्रे पुनरुरुपुरुषार्थात्मकं ब्रह्मतत्त्वं तत्तावद्भाति साक्षात् गुरुपवनपुरे अन्तभाग्यं जनानां। नारायण अखिलगुरो भगवन्नमस्ते। गोपिका जीवनस्मरणं गोविन्द गोविन्द जानकीकान्तस्मरणं जय जय राम राम। हर हर नमः पार्वतीपतये हर हर महादेव। सद्गुरुस्वामिनः जय। आञ्जनेयस्वामिनः जय। The Brahma Vastu, what we call as Parabrahman, is defined in the Upanishads in multiple ways. Two of the well-known definitions, widely known definitions, whether people know that they are definitions or not, are the two phrases Satchidananda Swarupa and Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. So there are two phrases that we use. It is widely known, lot of people use it in many contexts, and whether people know the meaning or not, they use these words Satchidananda and Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Out of these, the word Ananda is interesting in the word Satchidananda. Any living creature is always looking for some form of Ananda. We do not want dukkha, we want sukha. Atyantika dukkha nivrittihi paramananda praptischa. That is what Vedanta is defined as. It is the complete removal of suffering, of any form of dukkha, complete removal, and paramananda praptihi, attainment of the highest form of bliss. The ananda we get from sense objects is limited. We humans and many other animals, we perceive the world through our five senses and we experience some form of happiness, sadness, many other range of emotions. But what we always want to be is some form of happiness. We want to keep experiencing this happiness. So if it is through our eyes, we want to be watching something that is beautiful, whether it be natural beauty or it be in the form of something that is created in an art form. Somebody has created it, either they have drawn it, painted it, or it is sculpted. There are many architectural wonders. Or it might be more modern, like something on a television, something on a computer screen. You watch a movie and you get some form of happiness out of it. If it is through the ears, it might be some form of music, whatever each one is accustomed to. Or it might be listening to lectures itself, whether spiritual or personality development lectures and so on. So that is some form of Shrotrananda. Then you have many people like different kinds of foods. They call themselves foodies. They would like to try different cuisines from across the world. Some like sweet, some like spicy, some like hot. There is a lot of variation. There is a range of things that people experience, whether it be smell or even touch. So you touch a person you like, so there is a feeling within you. You smell something very fragrant, whether it be sandalwood or some particular kind of flower. It gives its own essence. So all these five senses, they give us experience of some form of ananda. Some small ananda is given from the objects of those senses. But all this ananda is always limited. It is limited in different ways. It is limited by first the experiencer himself. So that if I am the experiencer, I can experience that object only if my senses are working. For a person who does not have the sense of eyes, he is visually impaired, he would not be able to get the Nayanananda. Whatever we see through the eyes, he is not able to get it. That person is not able to perceive. A person who is hearing impaired, they are not able to find the Shrotrananda, they are not able to hear anything. And some people are born without the, therefore if they are deaf, they are not able to speak also. That not having touch or not having the sense of smell or taste is more rare, but such cases are also there. Medically, we have seen that such cases also exist. Though eyes and ears, ear impairment are more common. So it is on the person who experiences, this body which experiences. So if these senses are not working, then that person is not able to experience. So it is limited by the sense that this person has. So some people have more heightened senses, some people have less heightened senses. Some people are able to hear very minute details, and some people are able to get the taste very minutely. Some people are able to see very minutely. So it all depends on how acute the senses of the person are. So that is a limitation. The senses themselves are limitations. Then there is a limitation by the object experienced. So if that object is in a particular place, then you can go only to that place and experience that object. So if I want to experience the beauty of the Himalayas, I have to go to the Himalayas and experience it. Nowadays you can see it on TV, or maybe even virtual reality you can experience it. But going there and experiencing it is constrained by the space of experiencing. So the object exists only there. So I can only go there and see it. So if I am a fan of some celebrity, then if I want to go see that celebrity, I can, wherever that celebrity exists, only there I have to go and see that person. Even in the case of Mahatmas, spiritual giants, if the Shishya thinks that that Mahatma is only his body and he wants to see that person in person, then he has to go to the particular space where that Mahatma was existing. If Ramana Maharshi was in Tiruvannamalai, you had to be in Tiruvannamalai to see Ramana Maharshi in his bodily form. Though Mahatmas are not constrained by their body, if this person, if this Shishya, if this seeker wants to experience him in that particular form, he has to go to that particular space to experience him. Or they are also constrained by the time. So if that Mahatma existed some time ago and you were not there, we were not there during the Krishna Avatara, we were not there during the Rama Avatara. So we were not able to experience those avatars, or Adi Shankara Avatara and so many other avatars. So they are constrained by time, we can say. So the teachings are eternal, and even to this day you can experience their grace and experience them if you are such a pure devotee. The normal parlance, we see that we are constrained by the time. Even with the normal sense objects also. If there is a TV show that is appearing at a particular time, you will have to be there. There is a live program going on. You want to see it lively, you want to listen to it lively. The same thing recorded does not give the same amount of experience also. It does not give the same enjoyment. So they are all constrained by time. And also, the enjoyment that I get out of that particular experience exists only till the time that that object exists. So that live program is going on. If it's a 2-hour program, then you get that enjoyment only for those 2 hours. After that is completed, you don't get it anymore. You like to eat something, maybe it's pani puri or something. You eat that pani puri, and as it goes in, only at that point of time, till the time there is contact with the tongue, there is that experience of enjoyment. Once that is done, it is done. There is no enjoyment beyond that. So there are many constraints for this enjoyment that we have. This ananda that we want to have, our desire is to have it continuously. Wherever we are, whatever time it be, we want to have it continuously. But naturally there seems to be a lot of constraints, lot of limitations. This ananda is never unlimited. But the Upanishads say that the Brahman is Satchidananda Swarupa. So if ananda has to be unlimited, it has to be continuous in time, space and in object, then it has to be ananta. It has to be limitless. It has to be infinite. There can be no constraint upon it. You cannot say that I experience ananda at this time and not at that time, with this object and not at that object, in this space and not in that space. This can never be with that ananda. So surely the ananda that we get out of objects is not the ananda that is being implied here. The ananda that we get out of these objects is like a drop of the ocean, not even a drop, it's like sprinkling. You just stand on the ocean side and you see that wet water coming across. So that is the kind of ananda. Yat saukhyambudhi lesha leshatayime shakradayo nirvritaha, says Manisha Panchakam. That saukhya ambudhi is there, that ocean of bliss is there, out of which even Indradi Devatas, just by a drop, they feel they have got a lot of things. The kind of sukha that they have in Indraloka is just a drop out of that. But what we want, what we desire is ananta sukha. So that is when Upanishad says, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. So when it says Ananda, it actually means Ananta. It does not mean bliss in the sense of an objectified bliss. Because anything that we get from an object is limited. There is this person who is experiencing the bliss, and there is the bliss that is coming from the object. So there is a separation, that I am the experiencer and there is something that is experienced by me, the object that is experienced by me. There is a separation. So there are two things that are being given there. But something that is infinite cannot be two. It can actually not even be one, because when you say one, you already presuppose an existence of something else. Only then you can count one. If you say Brahman is one, then there is a counter that is counting Brahman. There is a person who is counting that this Brahman is one, and the counter itself might become two. So when you say Anantam Brahma, it is infinite. It is not constrained by anything. It is limitless. So Adi Shankara in his Taittiriya Bhashya, when he goes to explaining this word Anantam, that this limitless vast expanse, he takes these three constraints: the constraint of space, the constraint of time, and the constraint of object. Limitation by space, limitation by time, and limitation by object. So we have seen what these three limitations are, whether by space, by time, or by object. And Ananda cannot come just by from some object. So what we call from that object you cannot get that Ananda. So when Upanishad says Satchidananda, it is not, Dayananda says it is not like grilled cheese or something. So it is not like you put cheese in between the bread and you put it in the oven and then it just flows out. It is not like that. It is not something that comes out of some object. It is something that just exists there. That is always there. If it is always there, why are we not able to process it? Why are we not able to capture it? The basic mistake we make here is again in the same words. We want to experience that Ananda. We want to stay as an experiencer with this ahankara, with this ego, and I want to experience an object. What you are looking for is, I want to experience that. But that is infinite. The line separating the experiencer and experienced will vanish. So I am the experiencer, I see this book. There is always be a difference between me, the drashta, the experiencer, and the book that is experienced. But when something is infinite, this line between the experiencer and the experienced will vanish. It is there in our everyday experience that we do not need an object to actually figure this Ananda, to experience this Ananda. In our waking state, in the Jagrat Sthiti, we experience so many different things and we get Ananda out of it. Similarly, in our dream state also, we create an own world out of our own minds. There also we experience some pleasures and sorrows. But again, there is a difference that I am the experiencer and there are so many objects around me which are being experienced. But you see, there is something that is continuous. You are aware of all this around you, but you never turn inwards towards that awareness. What is that awareness which is aware of all these things? So in the third state, that is the deep sleep, we are aware of nothing. When we say we are aware of nothing, it becomes a little complicated to understand, because none of us actually analyze this awareness in deep sleep. If you ask the modern scientists and ask them whether you are conscious during sleep, many scientists would say that there is no consciousness in sleep. Then the Advaita Vedantin would propose a question to them. So are we dead during sleep? And then they would immediately say, no, we are not dead. Then what is it that exists during sleep? What the modern scientists say is we are not conscious in sleep and there is just nothing. What the Vedantin says is we are experiencing, we are aware of nothing in sleep. So you should see the difference in this. Science says it is where nothing is there to experience. Vedantin says we are experiencing nothing. So science presupposes that there is nothing at all. But we are saying that nothing is there, but experience is there. That is, awareness still exists there. So how do we understand this? When we analyze sleep, you are able to say I dreamt, you are able to say I dreamt, you are able to say I experienced a lot of things in this waking world. In sleep, you say there is nothing. But that you are actually saying after you wake up, you are able to say that I experienced nothing. You experience that absence of all the objects. But at the same time, you experience that awareness was still there. But you are not separate. There is no object to experience that awareness. Only when some object exists, this awareness, we are able to say there is a conscious experience, or else the awareness is just this. It is like the sunlight that comes through. You will never be able to spot sunlight in the empty space in between. If I keep a book in front of the light, then you will say, because of the light I am able to see the book. But if this book did not exist, just light was there, you cannot point out an empty space and say there is light here. Similarly, in deep sleep, that awareness is existing, but there is no object, not even a thought. In dreams there were thoughts and they created objects. But in deep sleep, even thoughts, even those subtle entities do not exist. So there is no object to show you the awareness, but you are awareness itself. And when you wake up, you are able to say that I was experiencing nothing. If that awareness wasn't there, it would have just been like you were awake, you went into dreams, and then you were just awake again. You would never be able to say something about deep sleep. But we all experience deep sleep. For this, if you wake up in the morning, as soon as you wake up in the morning, if you close your eyes and think about that state, it will say that there was so much there. Only by that analysis you will be able to understand that. And in that particular state of deep sleep, you do not have any object from the world, but you still experience a state of bliss. So a lot of you would object to saying that we don't experience any bliss in deep sleep. It's just nothing, absolutely nothing. How can you say there is bliss? There is no bliss there. I don't experience anything. But at the same time, you do not experience any form of sorrow also. Whatever be the sorrow, maybe a very close person has passed away at home. And at that point of time, you cry so much and then you fall asleep. Maybe on top of the dead body itself, you might fall asleep. But when you are sleeping, that sorrow will not enter that space. That distress cannot enter that space while you are asleep. So nothing from this world can enter that space. It is such a pure space. The deep sleep is such a pure space. Even thoughts cannot enter that space. You might be mentally very agitated, but that deep sleep, even a thought cannot enter that deep sleep. Let us say you have an alarm at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. in the morning, and you just woke up in the middle of the night and you saw it is still 3:30 a.m. Then as soon as you look at the clock, you have such a feeling of euphoria coming inside you. Oh, I still have an hour and a half to sleep. I still have a couple of hours more to sleep. Everybody, whatever be their nishtha, he might be the most religious person in the world who wakes up every day at 4:35 a.m. But even he would have the experience
oh, I still have an hour more to sleep. So there is that something that comes from deep sleep which is ineffable. You cannot put it in words, but you still have some kind, everybody wants to keep going back there to that state. And in that state, you see, there is only awareness, there is infinite awareness. You don't have time, you don't have space, you don't have objects. It is Ananta. But you are not doing it consciously. If that same state can be attained when you are awake, Ramana Maharshi says, that is Jivan Mukti. All the Mahatmas say, if that, what is there in Sushupti, Sushuptyaika Siddhaha, Tadeko Avasishtaha Shivah Kevaloham, says Bhagavad Pada in his Dashashloki. That Sushupti, that awareness that is there in Sushupti, if you are able to realize that awareness here, then that is Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. That Ananta, that infinite Brahman, it is there. When we say infinity, again we start imagining things that I am there, I see something infinite, and even in mathematics we see some number called infinity and so on. But infinite is just infinite. There is no space where it is not. Science has gone to the deepest of deep atoms. Like it has gone so much inside, so minuscule, so infinitesimal. And has seen thousands of galaxies, millions of galaxies on such huge scales. So it has gone from Anoraniyan to Mahato Mahiyan. So all through this is just that Brahman, Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam Brahma. We are concentrating only on that Ananta aspect of Brahman. Only that Anantam can be Anandam. Anandam cannot be limited. Anantam only will be Anandam. So when something is Ananta, you cannot say it is here, it is not here. Right? Every part, wherever you touch, is Ananda. You break it into it, it is Ananda. You put it together, it is still Ananda. You put all objects together, it is still Ananda. You see this, you see that, it is Ananda. Prahlada saw Narayana in everything. Everywhere it was Ananda for him. So there is a dense, this is the most densest thing you can get. Science says God particle, this is there, that is there. No. Whether there is space, whether there is time, whether there is no time, whether there is space, not space, whether there is an object, whether there is no object, there is this Ananta, this Ananda that is there everywhere. It is so dense, there is no space, you see. There is nothing that can stop it. Anywhere you touch, anywhere you think, whatever you feel, whatever it is Ananda. That is the form of dense Ananda that we are talking about. That is the dense Ananda. So we had to go about so much of the Upanishad, so much to see what this dense Ananda means. What do we say about dense? How dense is it? There cannot be anything more denser. There cannot be anything that can divide, that can poke a hole through it. Everything that is Ananda. So that is what we call as Sandrananda. Sandrananda tano hare nanupura divasule sangale tvatkritta api karma shesha vashato yete nayata gatim tesham bhutala janmanam titi bhuvam bharena duradita bhumih prapavirinchama shritapadam devaih puraiva gataihi. So Bhatta begins the 10th Dashakam. This is the the Dashamaskandha of Bhagavata begins from the 37th Dashakam. The Leela of Krishna begins here, begins as Sandranandatano. We saw in the first Dashakam itself, Sandranandava Bodhatmakam. It is a very Mangala Pada. Any Grantha begins with a Mangala Pada, Mangala Charana, a Mangala Shloka. The same Mangala is repeated in between and also at the end. That is the tradition of the Sampradaya of the Rishis. So in the first Shloka we saw Sandranandava Bodhatmakam. 37th Dashakam, which begins the Krishna Avatara, begins with Sandranandatano, the dense Ananda. In the end, while ending the 100th Dashakam, Bhattatri is going to say Paramananda Sandoha Lakshmi. So it is Paramananda there also. So at the beginning, in the middle, and at the end of the Grantha, the same Ananda is used, which is according to the Sampradaya. The whole Grantha is talking about that intense, the densest of the Brahman. So, Hey Krishna, Sandrananda Tano, that Bhagavan is the dense Ananda Swarupa. Hare Nanupura Daiva Sure Sangare. In the Daiva Sura Sangara, Tvatkrita Vikarma Shesha Vasataha Avashataha Yete Nayata Gatim. We saw in that Bali Upakhyana, the Devas and Asuras were fighting, and many of the Asuras were killed by Mahavishnu. Even then, some of them did not attain the Paramagati because they had so much karma, karma shesha vashataha. They did not attain their gati, that is, they did not attain mukti. Tesham bhutala janmanam. Now, those asuras who still had not attained the mukti, because of their previous intense karma phala, they have taken birth in this bhumi now. Bharena durardita bhumihi. There is so much adharma that bhumi is not able to bear that. Oh, she goes directly to Brahma. Virinchamashritapadam devai puraivagataihi. The devas had already gone there. They were not able to bear this. So they had already reached Brahma. Bhumi went there in the form of a divine cow. She also reached Brahma. Bhumi can bear a lot of things. She is called as Sarvam Saha. She is called as Kshama. All these words mean she can bear anything. Anything we put on her, we dig her, we build so many things. She can bear all those things. But she cannot bear adharma. It is not just population, it is the adharmic population which she cannot bear. Adharma also, Nuchuranna says, it is not that in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutthanam adharmasya tadatmanam sajamyaham. So he says abhyutthana of adharma. The adharma increases. So a lot of us start to think that when adharma becomes 50%, so it crosses 50%, then Bhagavan will enter the scene. That is not the case. The whole world stands on the foundation of dharma. Dharyate iti dharma. It is just the foundation of the world. That is what we call as dharma. So even if adharma becomes 1%, it is too much for bhumi to bear. Even people who we call as adharmis, they are also only 1% adharma in them. They might be protecting their own families. They will protect their own community. Normal dharma, everyday dharma of the body, whatever happens, whatever is their everyday things, everything will be according to dharma. But they have a few thoughts, few convictions, and few things maybe against the society, against a particular person, or against something else, which is what is adharma in them. There will be only 1% of adharma. So if even 1% of adharma happens in the world, it is too much for the whole society to bear. A politician who we might call as corrupt, he is a very bad politician, he might say. But you see, he might have done so much good work. You see, even in the Purana examples, it might be Hiranyakashipu, it might be Duryodhana, Shishupala, all the whoever we see as villains, Ravana, Kumbhakarna, they are 99% good. They are 1% there is some adharma. That is the adharma which the society will not be able to bear. So even 0.1%, 0.2% of adharma is very difficult for the society or for any other person to bear. So when we say abhyutthanam adharmasya, that is the kind of adharma we are talking about. Kamsa, he is good to all his friends. Let it be Putana, Bakasura, Pralambasura, all these people there, he is good. And even his administration, he might be good to 90% of the people. He has a particular disdain towards a particular percentage of people. So there, he is not doing good. So that 1% of adharma that exists in him, that is what is causing. So Bhar Ditibhuvam Bharena Durardita. So not being able to bear that adharma, Bhumi goes towards Brahma. And all the devas are already there. Aha Durjana Bhuri Bhara Mathitam Patho Nidho Patukam. Because of this Durjana Bhara, it feels like I want to go into the causal waters itself. It seems like I will dissolve into the causal waters. Patho Nidho Patukam Etam Palaya Hantame Vivashatam Samprichha Devanimane. Please protect me. Ityadi Prachura Pralapa Vivasham Alokya Dhata Mahim Devanam Vadanani Vikshya Paritaha Dadhyo Bhavantam Hare. So she requests Brahma, please ask these devas also, they also know about my state. And as soon as she requests Brahma like this, Brahma goes into dhyana. He thinks of Bhagavan himself and he goes into dhyana. Then he says to devas, let us all go to Vaikuntha to have darshana of Bhagavan. Uje chambuja bhura muna yisuraha satyam dharitriya vachaha nanvasya bhavatancha rakshana vidho daksho hi lakshmi patihi. So whatever Dharitri, the earth has said, it is correct. There is a lot of adharma now. So let us all go to Lakshmi Pati. He is the only person who can protect us. There is nobody else who can protect us from this kind of calamity. Sarve Sharma Purassaraha. Sharma means Indra. So all the devas along with Indra. Vayamito Gatva Payova Ridhim. Let us all go to the ocean of milk. Natva Tam Stumahe. Let us go down to Bhagavan. Javaditi Yuhu Sakam Tavaketanam. Javad means instantaneously. Speedily they all went to his Aketana, which means his abode, the Vaikuntha abode, they all reached. Te Mugdha Nilashali Dugdha Jaladhehe Tirangata Sangataha. The beauty of poetry of Bhattatri. Mugdha Anila Shali Dugdha Jaladhehe. There is a nice breeze that is flowing through. Anila. Dugdha Jaladhehe Tirangata. They all went to the shores of the ocean of milk. A pleasant breeze is flowing through, which is just made beautiful by that ocean of milk. Yavat tvat pada chintanai kamanasaha tavat sapatho jabhuhu. They all stood there meditating upon Bhagavan himself, and Brahma was also meditating upon Bhagavan. Bhagavan was not visible in front of them, as usual, lying on the Adishesha with Lakshmi at his feet. He was not visible there, so they all started meditating upon him. And within himself, Brahma heard Bhagavan speak. So in Bhagavata, everywhere that Devas or Brahma or somebody goes and meets Bhagavan, they always use the Purusha Sukta to meditate upon him. Even in this place, it is the same. In Bhagavata, if you see the shlokas, it will have the same purport, the same intent as the Purusha Sukta. The same kind of meaning will be there. So he meditates upon the Virat Swarupa Bhagavan using the Purusha Sukta. Twadvacham hridaye nishamya sakalan anandayannu chivane akhyatah paramatmana swayamaham bhakyam tadakarnyatam. Brahma says to all the devas, I have heard Bhagavan speak. The Supreme Lord has spoken to me within myself, and this is what he said. Jane dina dashamaham divishadam bhumescha bhimair nrupaihi tatshevaya bhavami yadava kule soham samagratmana. I understand the pitiful state you all are in. Dina dashamam divishadam bhumescha bhimair nrupaihi. Bhimaihi nrupaihi. Bhima here does not mean the Pandava Bhima. Bhima means somebody who is very difficult to overcome. That is Bhimaihi nrupaihi. Such dreadful kings have come across on the earth. Tat Kshepaya. To destroy all of them, I will take avatara in the Yadava Kula, in the Kula of Yadus. Samagratmana. So Bhagavata says, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. So complete. In all other, we say Amshavatara. So here, the whole Bhagavan has come in his Purnavatara. Samagratmana. Deva Vrishnikule Bhavantu. So you all Devas, you also go to Vrishnikula and take birth in that Kula. Kalaya Devanganaschavanau, and whoever is your Devanganaha, meaning your Dharmapatni, all of them also take avatara on the bhumi as the wives of yourselves. Matsevarthamiti tvadiyavajanam batho dabhuru chivane. All of you take birth in those kulas, in the Vrishni Kula, Anthaka Kula, Vrishni, Anthaka, Bhoja Kula, all these are parts of Yadu Kula itself. So you all take avatara there, and you all will be able to serve me when I take avatara as Bhagavan Krishna there. So says Bhagavan in Brahma's heart, and Brahma says it. He tells this to the Devas. Shrutva karnarasayanam tavavacha sarveshu nirvapita swanteshu isha gateshu tapakagripa piyusha triptatmasu. Hearing this, it was like nectar was poured within their ears. That's how Devas, all the Devas felt. Such beautiful words from Bhagavan himself, and they all felt a kind of satisfaction within themselves. So now this will happen. Whatever we came for, whatever we desire, that will happen. Vikhyate madhurapure gila bhavat sannidhya punyottare. Now we begin the story. So in Madhurapura, which is there with your Sannidhya Nityam Sannihito Harihi, says Bhagavata in this context. So in that Mathura, which is there in the northern part of Bharata Desha, Vikhyate Madhurapure Bhavat Sannidhya Punyottare. Because of your Sannidhya itself, it is Punya. The place is full of Punya. Dhanyam Devakanandana Mudavahat. So Devaka was a king of one of the kings of this Kula. So there are many small kings. If this Yadava Kula is well known that from starting from Yadu, nobody is crowned as a king. They do not have Abhisheka. So they have chiefs of each clan. So this Devaka was a chief of one of those clans. Of the Shura clan, he was a chief. He was a chief of his own clan. Devakanandana Mudavahat. So his daughter, Devaka's daughter was Devaki. And she married Shuratmajaha, the son of Shurasena, who was Vasudeva. Vasudeva and Devaki were getting married. And there was a great utsava that was happening in this Madhurapuri. Udvaha vasito tadiya sahajaha. The end of this pompous marriage, her brother Tadiya Sahajaha, Devaki's brother, Kamsotha Sammanayan, he wanted to show his love and respect towards the couple. He liked his sister very much. Sammanayan eto sutataya gatah patirathe. So he became the charioteer. So as soon as the marriage is over, they do the Griha Pravesha. Devaki and Vasudeva have to go towards Vasudeva's place. So he said, I will drive the chariot, and he sat there. Suta means charioteer. He sat there as a charioteer and he started driving the chariot towards their place. Vyoma-samskrta-pathasala. At that time, Akashavani appears from the skies. Vyoma means from the Akasha, a booming voice comes out. Asyastvam atidushtam ashtamasutaha hanteti hanteritaha. Asyastvam. So Asyaha, this Devaki, whom you are riding in the chariot, with this kind of a splendor, Atidushtam Ashtama Sudaha, hey, you are a Dushta. You, her 8th child, will kill you, O wretched fellow. Hanteti hanteritaha. See the word play that Bhattatri is making. He is going to kill you. Hanta iti hanta iritaha. Iritaha means the voice said so. Hanteti hanteritaha. So in Bhagavata, there is a very rasa. It's a very nice this thing. So there, Shuka Maharishi used the word abudha. Abudha means oh fool. So the voice said oh fool. And there are so many people who are going along with the chariot. As soon as the voice said oh fool, only Kamsa turns around and sees where is the voice coming from. Who is this person who calls me? That means he already knows he is the one who is being called. Abudha. Here it says Ati Dushta. So here also he turns, he knows he is the one who is Ati Dushta. Ati Dushta, it calls out and he turns. So that's how all the Mahatmas say. Santrasat sato hantu mantika gatam tandim kripani madhat. So as soon as it calls him Ati Dushta and Abudha, he expresses that Ati Dushtatva immediately. As soon as this is said, he pulls out his sword and wants to kill Devaki right then and there. He keeps the sword on her neck. Santrasad, because of his own fear, he is not secure. Santrasad satu hantum antika gadam tanveem, that lady, Kripani madhat, he pulled out the sword. Kripani means sword. Grindhanaha chikureshu tam khalamatihi, he got hold of her hair. Khalamatihi, khala means dushta, somebody who is not fit to be told in front of good people. Khalamatihi, such is his buddhi, a foolish mind he has. Shaurehe chiram santvanaihi, as soon as he pulled out his sword, Vasudeva holds his hand. Maybe in strength, Vasudeva is no match for Kamsa. But that is immediately, as soon as that Agni Sakshika, that marriage is over, that is the responsibility that falls upon Vasudeva. He holds his hand and he says, you cannot do this. She is your sister. And how can you kill your own sister? He tries a lot of logic to tell him. But Kamsa, the fear of death has overcome him. And he does not know what to do. And it is Adidushta. How will any kind of logic, any kind of good words will not enter his head now? That's why Bhattatri says Khalamatihi. So any Upadesha will not go into his head. Chiram Santvanaihi no Munchan. After a lot of trying to placate him with so many good words also, Kamsa does not let go. No Munchan. So he says, anybody who is born has to go to death. That is saying you will die at some point of time. Why are you doing this? You should not do this for your own sister. And she is a lady upon that. And on the day of her marriage, just as soon as she is married, on the way to Graha Pravesha, this is absolutely not fit of a person who is born in the Bhojakula. Such is the great lineage that you have. This is not to be done, says Vasudeva. But he is in no mood to agree. Then Vasudeva says, he gives a vachana. He says, I will give whatever child is born of Devaki, I will give them to you. Kamsa knows that Vasudeva will not go back on his words. Bhagavata says, Saravit, tasya Saravit, that he knows what is the weight of the words of Vasudeva. So knowing that, he says, he lets her go. Punar Atmajarpana gira prito thayato gruhan. Vasudeva and Devaki go to their home. Kamsa also goes to his abode. Adyam tvat sahajam tatharpitamapi snehena nahannasau. So the first child was born for Vasudeva and Devaki, and immediately, according to his word, Vasudeva took him to Kamsa. But Kamsa, he saw him and he got a gush of love came upon him. His own nephew, his sister's son, his nephew, as soon as he saw him, oh, young child, what is it going to do? And it is my own nephew. And anyway, my fear is from the 8th child. So this is the first of the child, and it's my nephew. And he had a preeti towards it. Snehena nahan nasau, he did not kill it. Dushtanamapi deva pushta karuna drishta hi dhire kada. So even people who are dushtas like this, you can see once upon a time, every now and then you will see such good gunas even in them. Rarely you will see such a streak of, you say, at the end of the tunnel there is light. So like that you will see a streak of light that comes through them also. Like that, just he was in a good mood that day. And he said, no, that is the Arthantaranyasa that Bhattatri gives here. Tushtanamapi deva pushta karuna drishtahi dhire kada. Some point of time, rarely we do see such good qualities, even in terrible men, we see such things. Then, Tavat Tvanmanasaiva Narada Munihi. So Narada comes there. Upon whose wish? Tvanmanasaiva, Bhagavan's own manas, Narada knows. Projesa Bhojeshwaram. He says the Adhipati, he tells the Adhipati of Bhojas, that is Kamsa himself, Yuyam nan vasuraha. You are all asuras. You are Kalanemi himself. And Surascha Yadavaha, all these Yadus that are being born, you don't know. Akrura, Vasudeva, Uddhava, everybody who is being born, they are all Devas. Surascha Yadavaha Jana Sikinna Prabho. Don't you know this? You have enmity from Janmas together. From previous lifetimes you are enemies. You cannot be so close towards them. Vasudeva son is born means he is a Devamsha. Some divine Deva has been born like that. Mayavi is a Harihi. That Hari is a Mayavi. Bhavad Vadhakrite Bhavi Suraprarthanat. So that Mayavi Hari, he is going to take avatara. So you cannot believe him. You don't know what he will do. He came as Vamana, he took away Bali's whole Samrajya. So what do you think he will do? In that Yuddha only you were killed, O Kalanemi. So you should not believe him. Bhavad Vadhakrite Bhavi Suraprarthana. Because of Deva Prarthana, he is going to take avatara. So you don't think that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 he is going to count in a linear fashion. He might do it in any kind of fashion. You put them in a circle, you can count, anything can be 8. So you cannot believe that Hari, who is a Mayavi, Ityakaranya, as soon as he heard this, Kamsa's mind changed. Yadun adhudunadasau shaurescha sudonahan Yadun adhudunad. So he started troubling all the Yadavas. Not only that, he started killing all Vasudeva's children also. Shaurescha sudonahan. Starting on the first child, he started killing them one by one. So 6 children, over a time, 6 children were born to Devaki and Vasudeva, and all 6 of them were killed by Kamsa mercilessly. Prapte saptamagarbhata mahipatau. So Adishesha came in as the 7th Garbha. Into Devaki's womb, Adishesha has come. Tvat preranan mayaya nite madhavarohini. So by Bhagavan's own prerana, Bhagavan tells Yogamaya, you go to Devaki's Garbha and you transfer this Garbha to Rohini, who was the first wife of Vasudeva. You transfer this Garbha to Rohini and then you go and take birth as Yogamaya in Yashoda's place. Tamabhibhoho Satchit Sukhaikatmakaha. So again Bhattatri addresses Bhagavan as Satchit Sukha Ekatmakaha. So just by this one single word, he is talking about the Devas. As soon as Bhagavan enters the womb of Devaki, all the Devas, they come there and they praise him. They give a stotra there in Bhagavata. Satchit Sukhaikatmakaha, which actually means Satchidananda Swarupa. Devakya Jataram Viveshita Vibho Samstuyamana Suraihi. You entered Devaki's womb and you were praised by all the Suras, all the Devas. There also again, the first shloka of the praise itself is Satyam Vratam Satyaparam Te Satyam Satyasya Yonim Nihitam Cha Satye Satyasya Satyam Rita Satya Netram Satyatmakam Tvam Sharanam Prapannaha. So Bhagavan is seen as Satya Swarupa itself, that which is existence, consciousness, awareness and bliss, nothing else. Even in Bhagavata, if you see, the same Nyaya applies. Now here we saw that Sandrananda, the term is used in the first Dashaka, the 37, the Krishna Avatara Dashaka, and at the end. Similarly in Bhagavata we think it is for Bhagavan Krishna is the main thing there. But even then, it never talks about Bhagavan Krishna in the beginning at the end. It says Satyam Param Dhimahi, that which is the truth. We meditate upon that truth. So Bhagavan is that Swarupa of truth itself. So the first shloka itself, which begins with Janmadhyasya Yataha, completes as Satyam Param Dhimahi. And here again, when all the Devas come and worship Krishna in the Jatara, in the womb of Devaki, they say Satyam Pratam, Satyaparam Te Satyam. Again it is Satya Swarupa Bhagavan. Again at the end, the last adhyaya of Bhagavata, the shloka Kasmayena Vibhasitoya Matulaha, it also ends with Satyam Param Dhimahi. So however it began with Satyam Param Dhimahi, it ends with Satyam Param Dhimahi. That is the Advaita Jnana which the whole of Bhagavata gives. Vyasa Bhagavan and Shukama Bhagavan could have said Krishnam Param Dhimahi. They chose Satyam Param Dhimahi. Bhagavan is that Satya Swarupa, is that Satchidananda Swarupa. So here also Bhattatri says Sandrananda Tano Satchit Sukhikatmakaha Devakya jataram viveshita vibho samstuyamanas suraihi sattam Krishna vidhuya roga patanim bhaktim param dehi me. O Krishna, you eradicate all my ailments and you give me immense bhakti towards yourself. That is the bhakti that Bhattatri is asking. The next Dashaka also, the birth of Bhagavan also, he starts with the same kind of word. Ananda Rupa Bhagavan Nayite Vatare Prapte Pradipta Bhavadanga Niriyamani Kanti Vrajairiva Ghana Ghana Mandaleertyam Avranvati Viduruche Kilavarushavela. Ananda Rupa Bhagavan, O Bhagavan, who are bliss itself, who are Sukha Swarupa itself, during your avatare, Pradipta Bhavadanga Niriyamanihi Kantibrajairiva Ghanakana Mandalairtyam. So you were going to take avatara there, and your body, the hue of your body, the color of your body is very dark, and the whole, all the clouds had come there. It was a rainy season, Ashadha Masa, is when Krishna Jayanti comes. All the clouds had come there. The clouds are also very dense. In rainy season, they are all dark, they are almost black. It seemed like your radiance was just going till the clouds, and that is the radiance that is coming through the clouds. Such was the darkness. It is actually not bright because it is night, it is midnight, and it is dark with dark clouds, and Krishna is going to be born in dark hue. So it is not the radiance that we usually associate with the sun or the moon, but it is the radiance of darkness. Kantim Prajairiva Ghana Ghana Mandalairtyam Avranvati Viruruche Kilavarushavela. Asha Sushitalatarasu. Asha means all the directions. All the directions were very pleasant. Shitalatarasu Payodatoyihi. Whenever there is rain, after the rain goes away, there is a very pleasant, cool environment around. That kind of a cool environment has been created. Asha Siddhapti Vivasheshu Sajjaneshu. So all the Sajjanas, the good people, they have all been waiting for this moment of Bhagavad Avatara. So their desire is going to be fulfilled. Asha Sita Apti Vivasheshu Sajjaneshu. Naishakarodaya Vidhu. Nishakaraha is moon. The Naishakara, the moon itself, Udaya Vidhu, he is going to rise. Nishi Madhyamayam. So in Ashtami, the moon rise will happen around midnight only. So in Paurnami, it happens when the sun sets. Ashtami is going to happen around the midnight. Nishi Madhyamayam Kleshapahastri Jagatam Tvamiha Virasihi. So all the disaster and distress and sorrow in the world is going to go away from during because of your birth. Kleshapaha Trijagatam Kleshapaha. So you are going to do away with the sorrow of all the three worlds. Tvamiha avirasihi, you took birth there. Balyasprisha Pivapusha Dadhusha Vibhutihi Udyat Kirita Katakangadaha Rabhasa Shankhari Barijagada Paribhasitena Nighasitena Parilesithasutigehe Balyasprishapi. Even though as a young child, infant, just a young infant that has been born, Vapusha, it only seems like that is a young infant, but Radhusha Vibhutihi, your glory, your radiance, your splendor, Udyat Kirita Kataka Angada Harabhasa, you have a crown on top of your head, you have the Kataka, the bracelets, Angada, on the shoulder you have ornaments, and you have a necklace around your neck, Harabhasa, Shankha, Ari, Varija Gada, you have the Shankha, the conch, Ari is the Chakra, Varija, the lotus, and Gada, the mace in your hand. Paribhasitena, Meghasitena, Parilesithasutigehe. Asita means not white. Sita is white, Asita is not white. So how is your not white? Your not white is like the dark clouds. So you are a dark hued person. Meghasitena, Parilesithasutigehe. So all these things, paraphernalia that Krishna has brought with him, it is in contrast to the bodily hue. There is a white Shankha, there is a white lotus in his hand, a golden mace in his hand, and a golden Sudarshana Chakra. So there is a wonderful contrast. Those are all giving radiance, and it is all illumining, and there is a radiance coming out of the divine Sharira of Bhagavan also. So this is the same avatar shloka that we see in Bhagavata. In the Sampradaya of Bhagavata shloka, we will recite the Bhagavata shloka also. Tamadbhutam balagamam bhujekshanam chaturbhujam shankagadar yudayudham Srivatsalakshmam galashobhikaustubham Pitambaram sandrapayodasaubhagam Maharha Vaidurya Kirita Kundala Tvisha Varishvakta Sahasrakuntalam Uddama Kancham Gadakankanaadibhi Virochamanam Vasudeva Aikshata. Bhagavata says Vasudeva Aikshata. Vasudeva just saw that form in front of him over there. That Avirbhava of Bhagavan, that Adbhuta Avirbhava of Bhagavan, wondrous avatar of Bhagavan is in front of him. Vakshasthali Sukhanilina Virasi Lakshmi Mandaksha Lakshita Kataksha Vimoksha Bhedaihi Tanmandirasya Khalakam Sakritama Lakshmi Unmarjayanniva Vireditha Vasudeva. This is a composition of Bhattatri himself. It is not there in the Bhagavata. It is an imagination of Bhattatri, a beautiful poetic imagination. Lakshmi is sitting in the Vakshasthala of Bhagavan. He is sitting in the chest of Bhagavan. So even during his avatara, she is already present there along with Bhagavan himself. So he is happily resting there. Sukha Nilina Vilasi. Lakshmi. What is she doing? She is always a little shy. Mandaksha means that shyness is there always. She is sitting on her husband itself, so that shyness is there. Mandaksha. Lakshita Kataksha. And she is looking this side and that side. Her corner glances are going from this side to that side. So where has this Bhagavan come? Where has he come? That Kataksha is falling across that jail. Wherever Vasudeva and Devaki are there, in that jail it is falling. Vimoksha Bhedaihi. So she is putting the Kataksha here and there. The Lakshmi Kataksha is falling upon that jail. So what is happening? From a long time there has been only Kamsa Kataksha there. And how is it Kamsa Kataksha? It is Khalakamsa Kataksha. Tan Mandirasya Khalakamsa Kritama Lakshmi. Because of Kamsa, this Khalakamsa Kataksha, there is only Alakshmi there. Opposite of Lakshmi, there is only sorrow, there is distress, and there is misery. There is nothing which is positive. That Alakshmi is being washed away by this Lakshmi by her shy, cornered-eyed glances. Unmarjayanniva, she is cleaning that, she is just wiping all that away. Once Krishna asked him, why is all this negative emotions here? She is just pulling all that emotion, that negative energy away, and she is cleaning that whole place. Unmarjayanniva virejitha vasudeva. A beautiful Kavi Kalpana over here. In very few places we see a complete original thinking by Bhattatri. All his words everywhere are original. But this complete new imagination by himself, Vakshasthali Sukhanilina Vilasi Lakshmi Mandaksha Lakshita Kataksha Vimoksha Bhedaihi Tanmandirasya Khalakam Sakritam Alakshmi Ummarjayanniva Virejitha Vasudeva. Shauristu Dhiramuni Mandala Chetasopi Durasthitam Babudikshya Nijekshanabhyam. Shauri Vasudeva, even for great yogis, great sages, even in their hearts they are not able to think of Bhagavan always. That Swarupa of Bhagavan does not stay constant in their hearts. Dhira Muni Mandala, those Dhira Munis, sages who are always steadfast. Chetasopi Durasthitam, you are far away even from their minds. But that kind of a vapus, that kind of a sharira, Shauri, Vasudeva is able to see in front of himself. Physically, he is able to touch it. Vapuhu Udikshya Nijekshanabhyam. From his own eyes he is seeing. Bhattatri is not able to describe the bhagya of the fortune of Vasudeva. Nijekshanabhyam. Oh, by his own eyes he is able to see. Ananda Bashpa Pulakodgama Gadgadardraha. Tears are flowing down his eyes. He is not able to say anything. Vasudeva is the first person who is having this darshana of Krishna Avatara. Gadgadardraha Tushtava Drishti Makaranda Rasam Bhavantam. He starts praising Bhagavan. Drishti Makaranda Rasam. So from so long, all he has been seeing is death. Each child is born and is being killed by Kamsa. It is only misery that he is seeing. So now it is like Makaranda Rasa, like an Amrita to his eyes. That's how he feels as soon as he sees Bhagavan. Drishti makarandarasam bhavantam. It's a honey for his eyes. Deva prasida varapurushatapavali nirlunadatra samanitra kala vilasinne. And he praises Bhagavan. O Deva prasida parapurusha tapavalli nirlunadatra samanetra kala vilasinne. O Lord, O Supreme Being, one who cuts away the samsara bandha with your playful glances like a sword. You are just using the glances like a sword to cut down the creepers of all the sorrows. You please shower that kind of grace on me. Khedan apakuru kripa gurubhik katakshihi ityaditena muditena chiram nuto bhu. So he was so happy and he started praising like this. The first shloka of Vasudeva Uvacha in Bhagavata itself, Viditosi Bhavan Sakshat Kevalanu Bhavananda Swarupa Sarva Buddhi Drik. So even there, Vasudeva, after so much misery, he is seeing Bhagavan in front of himself. But how does he do the stotra? Kevala Anubhava Ananda Swarupa Sarva Buddhi Drik. That's how he does the Bhagavan. We kept on seeing that Ananda. That Ananda is a continuous thread. Kevalanu Bhavananda is the pada that Vasudeva uses there. That Ananda, which is Ananda itself, Kevala Ananda. And it is also Kevala Anubhava Ananda. That Ananda which can only be experienced in that awareness. It is not an Ananda that is got from objects outside. It is Ananda by Ananda itself. It is bliss for bliss sake. There is no experience and experienced over there. Kevalanu Bhavananda Swarupa Sarva Buddhi Drik. And he is within everyone. This Bhagavan is within everyone. He is within everyone does not mean he is sitting inside you. He is through and through you. Just like gold is through and through all the ornaments. Just like mud is through and through all the vessels and pots that is made of. There is nothing separate. There is not a mud and then there is a pot. There is not something called gold and then there is an earring. It is not like that. It is through and through that. Like that, Bhagavan is through and through all his creation. It is from him that everything has come. Kevalanu Bhavananda Swarupaha Sarva Swarupa Sarva Buddhi Drik. That kind of Bhagavan has taken an avatara. And later, Devaki also sees him. Matra cha nitra sadilastrita gatra valya stotrira bhishtuta guna karuna dayastvam prachina janma yugatam pratibodhyatabhyam madurgira dadhita manushabalavesham. So Mata also, Devaki also sees him and wiping away the tears from that body of his. She is crying and all the tears are falling on him. And she is wiping away all those tears. Karuna Layastvam, and she also praises him. Very similar. It's all praise of, it feels very unintuitive to be praising a child like that. Whenever a child is born, people would say, oh, he looks like his father, he looks like the mother, the eyes are like somebody, the nose is like somebody. This is what everybody says. But that is not how Krishna is being seen here. He is being seen as that Sandrananda Tanuhu, that dense Ananda Swarupa itself has taken form over there and come in front of them. So then Bhagavan, he remains both Vasudeva and Devaki of their previous two births, Prachina Janma Yuganam Pratibodhyatabhyam. What are those Prachina Janma? So Devaki and Vasudeva, in the first Manvantara, Swayambho Manvantara, they were born as Prishni and Sutapas. Sutapas was Vasudeva and Prishni was Devaki. So they were born as Sutapas and Prishni, and they did tapas towards Bhagavan. And they asked Bhagavan that we want a son just like you. And they prayed the same thing 3 times. We want a son like you, we want a son like you, we want a son like you. So Bhagavan said, there is no one equal to me. So I myself will be born as your son. And because you have asked for it 3 times, I will be born 3 times as your son. So in the Swayambha Manvantara, Bhagavan was born to Sutapas and Prishni as Prishni Garbha. And then again he was born to Kashyapa and Aditi as Vamana. Later we see in the Vamana Avatara. And now the 3rd time he is born as Bhagavan Sri Krishna to Vasudeva and Devaki. And he tells them, this is your last Janma and you will attain Mukti after this. Oh, Madhurgira Dadhita Manushabadavesham. And then he became a Manusha Bala itself. All this divine paraphernalia, he let it go and he assumed a normal form of how a human baby would look like. He assumed an infant form like that. Tvatpreritas tadanu nandatanu jayate vyatyasamarachakitum sakishurasunuhu. By your own prerana, Bhagavan's prerana itself, Vasudeva understood that he should take this infant and go to Nanda Gokula, his friend's home. His friend Nanda is there, and you should go there and he should exchange this child for the infant, the child that is born there. Yogamaya has taken avatara there. Tvam hastayoradhrita chitta vidharya margihi ambhoruhastha kalaham sakishorarmyam. You are ambhoruhastha kalaham sakishorarmyam. Just like a young swan that is sitting on top of a lotus, how beautiful it would look, how attractive it would look, that attractive you are. Chitta vidharyam argihi. So even for Aryas, you can only be conceived by the mind. For sages also, you are only conceived by the mind. Bhattatri is not able to get over this. For you are only being, even sages can conceive you only in their mind. But Vasudeva is touching you with his hand. He is picking you up. He has put you in a basket. He is carrying you. Ambhoruhastha kalaham sakishorarmyam jata tada pashupasadmani yoga nidra. This yoga nidra, Yogamaya, she has been born in the Pashupa Griha. Sattma means home, the abode of Pashupas, the cowherds. Pashupa Sattmani Yoga Nidra, Nidra Vimuttida Mathagrita Pauralokam. So she made everybody get into deep sleep. When a child is born, Yashoda has just given birth. Even if she goes to sleep because of tiredness, many people who are around her should have been awake. But because of Yogamaya's Shakti, everybody in Nanda Gokula has gone to sleep. Yashoda because of her own tiredness, and everybody else because of Yogamaya, they have all gone to sleep. Nidra vimuttita matha akrita pauralokam. Tvat prerana kimiva chitramachetanayiryate. By your prerana, what is surprising? It is not at all a surprise. Even achetana, even jadavastu, even things that are not conscious, like the doors themselves which were locked, they opened. All these doors, nobody was there to open them. Even jadavastu, like a door, opened by itself. Dwarihi swayam bhagati sanghatitai sugatam. Maya can never be explained. Adi Shankara in many places he says, Aghatita ghatana patiyasi maya. Aghatita ghatina. So whatever cannot happen, Aghatita ghatana patiyasi. She can make it happen. The Maya, Bhagavan Shakti can make it happen. But Bhagavan and Bhagavan Shakti are not separate. That is what, when Bhagavan says, you go and take birth, he gives an order to Yogamaya that you have to go and take birth. And she is not separate from Bhagavan. Bhagavad Shakti and Bhagavan are not separate. In the 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the last shloka, the Bhashya says, Shakti Shakti Matoho Abhedat. This also, there is an anecdote here. My Matamaha, Brahmashri Mahamahopadhyaya Krishnamurti Shastrigal, he had the great fortune of penning down the Durga Panchakam of Paramacharya. Paramacharya has composed a stotra called Durga Pancharatnam, which is quite famous now. A lot of famous singers also have recorded it, I think. So this Durga Pancharatnam, it has a line, Brahma Pratishtha Syupadishta Gita. So it is a beautiful scene which my grandfather explained. So he was there on the banks of a lake, and Paramacharya with one leg within the lake and one leg on the banks, he just started dictating. He just said, get a notebook and a pen, and he asked my Matamaha to write it down. So he was just writing it down, and each line slowly Paramacharya used to say, and my grandfather used to note it down. My grandfather always thinks of the meaning, so he never just blindly notes it down. And when this line came about Brahma Pratishtha Supadishta Gita, Upadishta Gita means one who gave the Gita Upadesha. My grandfather just wrote it down and he stood still for a moment. He started thinking. When did the Devi, that whole thing is Durga Pancharatnam. It is Stotra upon Durga. How is this possible that Durga gives an Upadesha of Gita? It is Sri Bhagavan Krishna who gave Upadesha of Gita to Arjuna. So he just stood still for a moment. Then Paramacharya asked him, this is, I don't know, you said Upadishta Gita, you have to clarify how it is Upadishta Gita. And Paramacharya immediately asked someone to bring the Bhagavad Gita Bhashya Pustaka. So in Bhagavad Gita, he just opens, he flips and he opens to the 14th chapter. And the last shloka, it says, the Bhashya says, Shakti Shaktimatoho Abheda. The Shakti is Yogamaya. Shaktiman is the person who is having that Shakti. So Bhagavan Krishna has the Maya. And the Shakti and the Shaktiman are never two. They are always a single entity. Shakti Shaktimatoho Abhedat. So Durga, who is the Yogamaya of Bhagavan, because there is no Bheda between them, can be used that she also gave the Upadesha of Gita. So Brahma Pratishtha Syupadishta Gita. So that kind of Devi, so that Maya, it is inexplicable. It cannot be put in words. Anything can happen. It is just a mystery upon mystery. Sheshena bhuri phanavaritavarinatha swairam pradarshita-patho manidipitena tvam dharayam sakhalu dhanyatamah pratasthe. As soon as Vasudeva went out, it is pouring that day. Yamuna is flooded and Shesha, Adishesha comes and he gives a covering like an umbrella with his many hoods. He has just given a complete covering to both Vasudeva and Krishna. Bhuri Phana Varita Varina. All the water has been kept out by his hood. And you cannot see. It is Ashtami night, the moon is just rising, there is no, and it's dense rain is falling. How can you see the path? So that path is being illumined by the gems on top of the hoods of Shesha. Swairam Pradarshita-pato Manidipitena Tvam Dharayan, carrying you that Dhanyatama, that most fortunate among men, that Vasudeva, he proceeded. Ratasthem soyam tvamisha mama nashaya roga vegan. That kind of Isha, you deign to eradicate all my ailments. Please force all my ailments away. You just push away all my ailments. If you can do like these things with Maya, eradicating my ailments is nothing for you. Bhavantamaya mudvahan yadukulotvaho nissaranne dadareshagaganochara jalabharam kalindatmajam aho salila sanchayaha sapunara indrajalo ditaha jalau khaiva tatshanat prapadame yadamayayu. So as Vasudeva was carrying him, the flood should be coming. Looking at it, it seems like the flood is still there till the skies. That high the Yamuna river is. There is nothing. You cannot see anything at all. Gaganochala jalabhara. Seems like the waves are hitting the sky. Kalindatmajam. Kalindatmaja means Yamuna. Aho salila sanchayaha. Oh, what a salila sanchaya. Just a group of water that it seems like the ocean. Punar indrajalo ditaha. But like magic. Indrajala means magic. That Jalauka, that whole dense water, Prapadame Yatamayayo, it came till only the feet of the ankle of Vasudeva. Vasudeva just kept on walking. That water which was there in the skies, it seems like it is there only till the feet of Vasudeva. It is not rising beyond this level. And Vasudeva is easily able to walk through Yamuna herself. So the simile given in Bhagavata here is Margam Dadau Sindhuriva Shriyapate. Just like in Ramavatara, Samudra gave Marga, but there it was a step lesser. Samudra said, you put stones upon me and I will carry the stones and you make a bridge. Here, the whole Yamuna itself gave way and Bhagavan is going through that. So that is the simile that Shuka uses, Margam Dadau Sindhuriva Shriyapate. Jalau Ghagiva Tatshanate Prapadame Yatamayayo Prasupta Pashupalika Nibhrita Marudadbalika. So the whole of Pashupalika, all the cowherds, everybody was asleep. Prasupta Nibhrita Marudadbalika. Only this Balika, Yogamaya, she was giving the small sound. Because Vasudeva should know where to enter. So many houses are there, you can't see anything. So you know which place to enter. Nibhritam Arudatvalikam, gently she is crying. Abhavrita Kavatikam, all the house doors are open. They did not used to lock also. And for this sake also, all the house doors are open. Maybe at least for rains they would have closed their doors. But today all doors are just open. Apavrita kavatikam Vashupavatikama Vishan Vasudeva entered that Vatika, the village of the Gopas. Bhavanta Vayamarpayan, he took you and he placed you there. Prasavatalpake Tatpadat, on the same Prasavatalpa, the place where that child has been born. Vahan Kapata Kanyakam, the Kapata Kanyaka, the Yoga Maya who is creating all this kind of magic, this Maya everywhere. Vahan Kapata Kanyakam Swapurama Gato Me Gataha. So he immediately reached Mathura again. Then as soon as he reaches, all the doors close by themselves, all the chains put themselves back, and he gives this young infant, the girl child, the hands of Devaki. Tatastvad anujaravakshapita nidra vegadravad bhatotkara nivedita prasavavartayi vartimanem vimukta chikurotkara stvaritama vadam bhojarate Adushtayava drishtavan bhaginaka kare kanyakam. A beautiful Maya of Yoga Maya and great Anugraha of Bhagavan himself, that everything is happening like as if it has been scripted. Yes, it has been scripted by Bhagavan himself. It is all just playing out in front of Kamsa. And Kamsa, he is always thinking of Bhagavan. Bhagavata says, Pargetanne, Bhunjanne, Ashtanne, whatever he is doing, he is always thinking of Bhagavan. It doesn't matter what he is doing. Even a Bhakta would not think of Bhagavan so much. That is the kind of fear that Asharira Vadi has created in Kamsa. Whatever he is doing, he is always thinking of Bhagavan. So that will anyway lead to mukti. There is no other way of doing it. Ananyas chintayanto mam. So he is Ananyas chintayantaha here. There is nothing else he is thinking of. Ananyaha chintayantaha means you should not think of any other object. And you should always, your mind should always be with Bhagavan. Even when you love someone, it is difficult to do that. When you hate someone, that immediately that thought always comes. So whether he sits down to eat, whether he is walking, he is doing some affairs of the kingdom, doesn't matter. Whether he is going to sleep, he is not getting sleep also. That is the kind of fear that he is having. Kamsa is always thinking of him. So that kind of Kamsa, he hears this news. And let us all have that kind of thinking in a positive way. So we shall continue the story in the next lecture, whenever that happens. Let us all positively always think of Bhagavan. Ananyas chintayanto mam yejanaha pariyupasana. Bhagavan says that upasana should come. So for Kamsa, even though it is negative, abhichet su duracharaha bhadate mam ananya bhak. That is the other shloka in Bhagavad Gita says. Even though he is a durachari, in all other affairs he may not be according to society at all, he might not be in dharma at all. He is not righteous in any manner. Bhajate mam ananya bhak. Always he is thinking of me. Sadhureva samantavya. He used to be accepted as a sadhu only. There is no other way to go about it. Because that dharma sukshma is such that he is always thinking of me. He is to be accepted as a sadhu. Sadhureva samantavya. Why? Samyak vyavasito hi saha. He is there in the right foundation. He has got whatever has to be got. He is always thinking of me, immediately of whatever he is doing otherwise. Always he should be thinking. It is not a patatoba. It is not like he is putting up a facade for something somebody else. It is not like he is acting just for the sake of doing. He is not a mithyachara. He is always thinking of Bhagavan. It has become his nature to think of Bhagavan. But he might be doing that in a negative way. What will happen to him? Kshipram bhavati dharmatma. He will become a dharmatma and shashvat shantim nigacchati. He will attain that parama shanti. He will attain. Kamsa is also going to attain that kind of a shanti itself. So Bhagavan Anugraha, let it be there on all of us. Let us all become bhaktas of Bhagavan. And in the next lecture we will see the continuation of Krishnavatara, the Yoga Maya and other leelas of Bal leelas of Bhagavan. We will go on to see. हर हर नमः पार्वती पतये हर हर महादेव गोपिका जीवनस्मरणं गोविन्द गोविन्द जानकीकान्तस्मरणं जय जय राम राम सत्यं ज्ञानमनन्तं नित्यमनाकाशं परमाकाशं गोष्ठप्राङ्गणरिङ्गणलोलमनायासं परमायासं मायाकल्पितनानाकारमनाकारं भुवनाकारं क्ष्मामानाथमनाथं प्रणमत गोविन्दं परमानन्दं गोविन्दं परमानन्दं भज गोविन्दं परमानन्दं गोविन्दं परमानन्दं भज गोविन्दं परमानन्दम् यतो ममात्मा भवसि त्वमेव ततो न वाच्यं मम किञ्चिदस्ति यथा तवेष्टं कुरु मां तथैव त्वामात्मनाथं रमणं भजामि। सद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः।